If you feel like you're always trying to change your life, make more money, break out of the same old cycle, but nothing ever actually moves, then pay close attention to this because the problem might not be effort. Most people think they need a better technique, a better method, when the truth is, what's actually holding everything back are mental patterns they don't even notice. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's blocking you and how to start seeing things differently so your reality can actually start to shift. I know this because I've been there. I wanted to change my life too. I was doing everything, consuming content, trying to apply it, and still nothing was moving. Until I realized the problem wasn't that I wasn't trying hard enough. It was the way my mind was programmed. And it was one simple thing that changed everything. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you here. But before we dive in, just 1 second, subscribe to the channel, because here I consistently break down manifestation in a way that actually makes sense. No mystical fluff, no filler, just what works. And drop a like right now, because it helps this content reach more people who are stuck and need to hear this. Deal? All right, let's get into it. Let me ask you something directly. Have you ever had that feeling of genuinely trying, really trying, and your financial life still won't budge? Like you're pedaling a bike that's going nowhere. You consume content, you try to make changes, you have moments where it feels like things are finally going to click, and then a few weeks later, everything's back to exactly where it was. And what makes it even heavier isn't the situation itself. It's that voice in the back of your head that starts asking, what if the problem is me? That's way more common than you'd think. I know because I lived it, and because almost everyone who's ever come to me carrying that same exhaustion was going through the exact same thing. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not laziness. The person wants to change, sometimes desperately, but something keeps blocking them, and they can't figure out what. And here's what's strange about all of it. Most of these people are doing exactly what they were taught to do. They're trying to think positive, trying to visualize, trying to stay motivated. They're following the playbook, but the results never show up. And then comes the frustration, and then the comparison with that one person you know who made it, and then that quiet feeling of wasted potential. But here's something almost nobody notices inside that whole cycle. The problem isn't the effort, and it's not the technique. The problem is somewhere most people were never taught to look, and that's exactly where everything starts to go wrong. And most people never look there, because what most people do is focus on the technique, visualization, affirmations, trying to vibrate at the right frequency. Wake up energized, repeat that life is going to change, try to feel as if you've already achieved what you want. And look, I did all of that. For a long time, I thought I was on the right track, that it was just a matter of time. But life stayed the same. And the problem wasn't the technique itself. The problem was that I was trying to build on a foundation that was still programmed for the opposite of what I wanted. Think about this image. Imagine someone trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in it. They pour water in, keep pouring, keep trying, but the bucket never fills up. Not because they're not putting in the effort, but because there's a hole at the bottom they never noticed. That's exactly what happens when you try to apply manifestation without first understanding what's running underneath. The conscious mind wants one thing. It wants abundance, freedom, growth. But the subconscious, the part that runs on autopilot, that drives most of your decisions without you even realizing it, still believes something completely different. And when the two collide, the subconscious wins every time. Not because you're weak, but because it's older, deeper, and faster than any conscious thought you try to put in its place. And what's most brutal about all of this is that the person keeps pushing, keeps trying, and then starts thinking manifestation is a lie, that it doesn't work, that it's for naive people. When the truth is they were applying the right tool in the wrong place. But why does the mind work this way? Why does it resist even when you genuinely want to change? This is where it starts to get interesting and a little uncomfortable. So why does the mind resist like that? Because these blocks weren't chosen, they were installed. Before the age of 7, A child's mind operates almost like a sponge. It doesn't filter, it doesn't question, it doesn't analyze. It just absorbs. Everything it sees, hears, and feels repeatedly becomes truth. And that's exactly where most financial patterns get formed. If you grew up hearing that money is hard to come by, your mind recorded that. If you watched the people around you living on the edge, stressing about bills, saying that rich people are just lucky or dishonest, your mind recorded that too. Not as an opinion, as fact. And then you grow up. You try to change your life, you try to manifest, you try to think differently. But there's a file running on autopilot inside you that keeps saying the opposite. Now pay attention here, because this is where it becomes clear why nothing changes. These patterns don't just stay as thoughts, they become filters. Your mind starts reading reality through them, and anything that doesn't fit those filters, it simply doesn't see. You know that opportunity that showed up and you didn't give it a second thought? Or that idea that popped into your head and you dismissed it almost instantly thinking it was nothing? That might not have been distraction. That might have been the filter doing its job, blocking out anything that doesn't match what your mind already believes is possible for you. That's why two people can be in the exact same situation, and one sees a way out while the other sees nothing. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's the filter each of them is using to read the world. When I understood that, I got frustrated. Frustrated that I hadn't seen it sooner. Because it's simple. It's logical, but nobody had ever explained it to me that way. And the most important thing is not your fault. You didn't choose these patterns, but now that you know they exist, it's your responsibility to do something about it. And this is where I want to show you something before we keep going, because what comes next is the part that changes things the most in practice. And look, I know understanding this is a relief. But I also know that just understanding it doesn't change anything on its own. Because identifying the patterns is one thing, knowing exactly how to undo them in a structured way at your own pace is something else entirely. That's why I started using the Forbidden Secret. It's a material that goes directly to that blind spot we just talked about, the blocks that were installed without your choosing. And that keeps sabotaging everything from underneath. It's not another think positive and things will work out piece of content. It's a practical guide for understanding what's actually holding you back and starting to undo that in a progressive way. For me, it was the missing piece, not motivation, not more technique. It was understanding the mechanism and having a clear path to actually work through it. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. Check it out, see if it resonates with you. And now, getting back to what we were talking about, because what actually works in manifestation is very different from what most people imagine, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you next. So let me tell you what actually works. And heads up, this might break something you believed about manifestation, because it's a lot simpler than what you were taught, and at the same time, a lot deeper. Manifestation isn't about attracting things out of thin air. It's not about sending a request to the universe and waiting for it to arrive. That's what sells easy courses. It's not what works. What works is this, changing the filter through which you see reality. Remember when we talked about how the mind creates filters based on what it believes, how those filters determine what you see and what you ignore. That's exactly where manifestation operates. Not by creating opportunities from scratch, but by making you see what's always been available and that your old filter was simply blocking out. When I understood that, everything shifted for me, because I stopped trying to force positive thinking on top of negative beliefs and started working on the filter itself. And how do you change a filter? By directing your attention consistently, not once, not when motivation hits, consistently. This is where gratitude and optimism come in, but not the way you were probably taught, not as a feel-good emotion, not as be grateful, and the universe will give you more, but as active perception training. When you practice gratitude in a functional way, you're literally retraining your brain to identify what's available instead of fixating on what's missing. This isn't vague spirituality, it's the real way the mind works. Think about it like this. Two professionals walk into the same business meeting. One has the scarcity filter running, they walk out seeing nothing. The other has the filter calibrated for opportunity, they walk out with 3 new ideas. Same meeting, different filters. That's manifestation, not magic. Progressive reprogramming of the lens you use to read the world. And the good news is that filter can be changed. Not overnight, but it can. Now, understanding that is one thing. The question that remains is, how do you actually put this into practice without falling into the same cycle as before? That's what I'm going to show you now. So let's get practical. Fair warning, it's not complicated. In fact, when I first saw it, I thought it was too simple to actually work. But that's exactly where most people go wrong. They underestimate the simple stuff and keep looking for something more elaborate. There's one core principle where you direct your attention, the mind starts to build. That's not a metaphor. That's how it actually functions. What you focus on repeatedly, the brain starts to prioritize, identify, and seek out. So the work is straightforward. Direct your attention intentionally every single day, even if only for a few minutes. Step 1, observe your patterns. Before you try to change anything, you need to identify what's already running. Throughout a normal day, pay attention to the automatic thoughts that show up when the topic is money, possibility, or the future. Not to judge them, just to observe. This is too hard for me. I don't have what it takes. Nothing's ever going to change. These thoughts show up without you calling them, and that's exactly what you need to see. Step 2, functional gratitude. Pay close attention here because this is where most people apply it wrong. Functional gratitude isn't pretending everything is fine. It's not listing 3 good things and going about your day the same as always. It's an active perception exercise. You're literally training your brain to spot what's available instead of locking in on what's missing. 5 minutes a day, morning or evening, whatever works for you. No rush, no performance. Pick something concrete, something small, something real, and actually sit with it for a moment. A conversation that went well, a bill you managed to pay, an idea that came to you. The goal isn't to feel good, it's to retrain the filter. Step 3, interrupt the block the moment it shows up. This one changes everything. When a limiting thought appears, and it will, you don't need to fight it. Just notice it and ask one simple question: is this a fact, or is this an old pattern? That question creates a pause, and that pause over time starts to weaken the autopilot. A lot of people get this wrong by trying to replace the bad thought with a forced positive one. That doesn't work. What works is awareness of the pattern, because you can't change what you can't see. Consistent small effort beats one big push a week. 5 minutes every day builds more than an hour on the weekend. The mind changes through repetition, not intensity. And when you start genuinely applying this, something starts to happen. Not overnight, but in a way you're going to notice. And I need to prepare you for that, because if you don't know what to expect, there's a real risk of giving up right before you see the result. I'm going to be straight with you here, because this is the point where most people quit, and it's exactly because nobody prepared them for this. When you start applying this, the first result isn't money in your bank account. It's not an opportunity falling from the sky. The first result is internal, and that's exactly why so many people don't recognize it as a result. What changes first is your perception. You start noticing things that used to fly right past you. A conversation you would have ignored before suddenly catches your attention. An idea you would have dismissed sticks around. A door that felt closed starts to seem like it's just not all the way shut. That's not a coincidence. That's the filter changing. In the first few days, honestly, it feels like nothing is happening. I almost quit at this stage, because the mind is still running the old pattern, and the new one is still being built. That's normal. It's part of the process. Around 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice, something starts to move. Your decisions start to feel different. Your reactions start to feel different. You start responding slightly differently to the same situations, and that's when the external results start to show up. Because external results are the consequence of decisions, and decisions are the consequence of perception. Change the perception, you change the decisions. Change the decisions, you change the results. It's not linear. There are moments when the old pattern comes back strong, sometimes right when things are starting to move. That's not a sign of failure. That's your mind testing whether the new one is real. 5 minutes applied every day builds more than an hour forgotten at the end of the week. It's not about doing a lot. It's about not stopping and knowing that changes everything. Because when you understand the process is real and that results come progressively, you stop waiting for the dramatic breakthrough and start trusting the movement. So now that you understand how this actually works, what do you do with it today? Here's the simplest plan there is. The plan is simple, and that's exactly why it works. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take 5 minutes, no phone, no distractions, and do just one thing: observe. What thoughts show up automatically when you think about money, about growing, about changing your life? Don't try to change anything yet, just observe. Write it down if you want. The goal is to see the pattern, because you can't work on what you can't see. Still do this today. At first, it feels strange just sitting there watching your own thoughts, but that's exactly the moment the process begins. Tomorrow, in the morning, before you open your phone, give yourself 3 to 5 minutes for functional gratitude. It doesn't need to be an elaborate list. Pick one concrete thing, something small that happened, a capability you have, a situation that could be worse and isn't, and actually sit with it for a real moment. It's not to feel good, it's to start retraining the filter. Over the next few days, repeat. No pressure to do it perfectly, no demanding immediate results. The first day is the hardest because your mind is still going to try to skip it. But if you repeat it for a few days in a row, something starts to shift internally, subtle but real. And if you can't do all of that, just start with the first step. Just tonight's observation already puts you ahead of where you were yesterday. You don't have to get it perfect right out of the gate, you just have to enter the process, because it's inside the process that things start to move. And if you want to speed that up, have a more structured path without having to build it all from scratch, I have something that'll help you do exactly that. You're leaving this video with 3 steps ready to start today: pattern observation, functional gratitude, and interrupting the block the moment it shows up. Simple, concrete, start tonight. And if you want to accelerate that process, in the Forbidden Secret, I give you the exact 30-day path to automate this with a structured roadmap focused on real financial results. It's not more theory, it's the process applied, day by day. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. If you're serious about changing, click it now and check it out. It's the material I would have used if I were starting from zero. It goes straight to the blocks we mapped out here. Tell me in the comments, what was the pattern you recognized in yourself during this video? Write it down below, because naming it is already part of the process. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone you know who's stuck in the same way. Try the first step tonight and let me know what happens. Good night, manifestors. I'll see you transforming.